It's Tuesdays with Ted, and we're actually doing it on Tuesday this time. Sometimes we do them on Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday. We try to do them at this time on Tuesdays, though. And today we've got Rena Koesler, who I met a couple of years ago in Denver, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. It's Rena Koesler, but yes. Mm-hmm.
at Gary Barnes' event.
Yep.
And we've kept in touch. And you just sent me a copy of your brand new book, Unflappable. And you have a
Yeah.
great story. I love it. You love to climb the mountains, and now you're kind of tying it into coaching.
Exactly. Yeah. I came from a background of being a professor of outdoor education and environmental education. And when I retired from that profession, I decided that I was not done, that I have not reached a finish line. And so I knew that during my time as a professor that I did an awful lot of coaching and mentoring. And so transitioning into being a professor into an entrepreneur in the field of business coaching and facilitating and speaking, I thought this is a pretty smooth transition. The only difference is that as a professor, I didn't have to go look for an audience,
Right.
and as an entrepreneur, you have to go look for an audience. And so it's been a great challenge, and but delightful, because all those things that I didn't like being as a professor, like grading papers and going to
Right.
meetings and doing the research, I don't have to do those things. I can just boil it down to things that I really, really enjoyed as a professor. So while I've been retired, I've excited about having written two books, and both of them I think are really appropriate for now, today, the beginning of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is my most recent book, but the book just before that, a year ago, is called "Achieving Your Potential: 15 Empowering Steps to Reach Each Summit." And both of them have been really enjoyable to write because they come from here. It's what I believe. It's not what I have to go out and search for the information to put it in a
Right.
book. It's authentic, and I'm proud to say that. And it's particularly in my Unflappable book, there's a lot of vulnerability and
Mm-hmm.
admitting my mistakes as a leader and taking people on big climbs and being a leader of big expeditions. So I think that's part of the process is, and maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's we get to a place in our life where we could just like, you know what? There's nothing else to I don't know, gloss over or hide.
Our filter comes off.
Right, our filters come off, and and I felt okay about being vulnerable in the book
Yeah.
because I think people learn from your own vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Yeah. When
If
we're
you're
younger, it's like, I can't admit you made a mistake and you're
Mhm.
perfect. Now
Yeah.
we're older, and it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
Learn from it and move on, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, so the Achieving Your Potential book, and I think it's a when I think back on the title, Achieving Your Potential, like whoever really achieves their potential? Well,
Right.
nobody really does, because once you think you've reached your potential, then there's more out there. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I've reached here, then I can go here, then I can go here, then I can go here. And but I really wrote it in pretty simple terms where people could sort of follow. If there's a goal or an aspiration or a desire or a dream that you have been sitting on for a very long time and you just haven't moved toward it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not quite even sure if this is what you really want to do, is, I sort of pare it down to 15 empowering steps, but you can even pare it down even more than that, like maybe five
Yeah.
global steps that get you moving toward those achievements and aspirations and goals. Like every day's a valuable time. So why sit on things that you really want to do?
Right. A lot of times you break through those limiting beliefs, and it's like, wow, there's a whole new world out here. So much more
Mhm.
to explore because
And
we've
those are pretty major for a lot of people. those
Yeah.
limiting beliefs, and I
We
call them
get stuck in our box.
the imposter syndrome and the comforts that we get. It's nice to be in flannel pajamas all the time, but we don't really, move away from the fire and the coziness of that. We don't really get anywhere.
Right.
Um,
Now that we have to start dressing up again now through pandemic.
exactly. We can't be wearing our flannel pajamas anymore.
We actually have to go out into public now and then.
I know. Exactly.
So when
So,
did you start climbing? I'd love to
oh
hear that.
Um, well, my very first mountain was I climbed in 1977, October 1st, 1977, in Wyoming. And I come from the Midwest. I live here in Colorado currently, but growing up, I was born in and grew up in my middle school and high school years in Illinois. So
Mhm.
I'd never seen a mountain, let alone consider climbing a mountain. But I was with a group of college students, and we had an opportunity to go west and spend a month in the Wind River Mountains in Wyoming. And during that period of time, we were able to climb a peak called Petroleum Peak, over 12,000 feet, very technical. Uh,
Mhm.
and at that time in 1977, people didn't wear helmets. You tied your own harnesses. They didn't have, everybody wore wool clothing. There wasn't any Gore-Tex then,
Right, right.
any fancy stuff. You just go to the local army surplus store and you pick up your woolies, and you're outfitted for the month in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And that experience was transformational for me. And I think it was less about getting to the top and climbing the mountain. It was more about what happened here. Something happened magical. I think it was the focus and the determination and the challenge and the risk involved and the fear and the ability to get up and down without no one getting hurt
Yeah.
was moved me into a trajectory that I just was surprised about. But I use that as a metaphor to everything that I did from that point on. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is what, in order for me to get somewhere, I'm going to have to take some risks. I'm
Right.
going to, I have to focus. I'm going to have to be challenged. I'm going to have to maybe get afraid of doing some things. So
Right.
so again, it was less about climbing that mountain, but more about what transformed in me from that point on.
Yeah. Yeah, we just watched a documentary the other day. This guy climbed the 14 highest peaks in the world, and he did it in 6 months.
That it's incredible. What human being can do that?
Yeah.
That was an amazing, amazing documentary.
Yeah.
Mm,
And he had it in him. He said, "I'm gonna do this." He kept thinking of his mother. "I'm doing this for my mother." He was inspired. It just he was
mhm,
doing climbs in one day that take a week sometimes.
mhm.
That was amazing.
They had this, and maybe you've heard of this too, Ted, is that they have this fun one, fun two. And fun one is like, let's go out to an amusement park. And while you're on the ride, you're having a blast. And, at the beginning, you're excited about getting on the ride and you're having a blast on the ride. And when you're off, you're like, oh, that was so much fun. You want to do it again. That's fun one.
Right.
Fun two is where you're not having fun at all during it. But on the onset or the on the outset, when you're finished with whatever you're doing, kayaking over Niagara Falls or climbing a mountain. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily fun while you're doing it.
Mhm.
Fun comes in afterwards, and it's true. I can't, the climbs that I've done in the last 45 years have been challenging, and sometimes I ask myself while I'm moving up the mountain, whose idea was this?
Right. Yeah, why am I doing this? But then when you're done, the accomplishment is amazing. I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Mhm. But don't you think that that is really a metaphor to, I think, I mean, I'm biased that way, a metaphor to everything that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about your business, or not your business, but anybody's business, and what it took to get to where you are. And sometimes you wonder, you ask yourself, whose idea
Right.
am I doing this? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Mhm.
And I think you know or you're validated by that, the more you move toward it and
Yeah.
recognize that there is something to reaching that summit, whatever you decide your summit's going to be.
Right. Because it's that
Yeah.
daily grind that, oh, why am I doing this? But you're doing it
Hmm.
because you love what you're doing, hopefully.
Yeah.
When you're working
Yeah.
for a job, it's like you're just doing it for the money most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and then the other piece too is, um, yeah, money for many is a driving force, but it's what's even before that. I
Hmm.
think, if you really desire to do this and want to make an impact and want to serve other people um, and you're having a good time doing it, the money will come.
Yeah.
I've always believed that, the money will
Hmm.
come. But if your main focus is on the money, and I talk about that in my first book,
Hmm.
is that if your focus is on money and fame, good luck, because it's not going to last very long, and fame is lasts a day.
Hmm.
Uh, Fortune,
15 minutes of fame.
right? Exactly. We've heard that a lot. Yeah.
Right.
So, but you talked about limiting beliefs. Choosing your thoughts is really critical in moving toward those goals and aspirations. Like, this is perfect time. Like, we're all thinking about, okay, we're going to reboot. We're going to make some changes now. It's the new year. It sort of, taps us and says, and we say to ourselves, okay, 2022 is now, here. Where is it that I want to go, and what is it that I want to do? But it starts with recognizing, I think, who you are,
Yeah.
who you are, and why you're here, and people bumble along in life and not quite sure what trail they're on or what path they're on, and they go on this path and that path and this trail, and they get misplaced,
Yeah.
uh, and they're not baddies, but they're missing a really important component,
Yeah.
and that is why they're here. Who are they, and what is it they're driven to do?
Yeah. I think the pandemic's made so many millions of people have quit their careers and they're starting something new now. There's
Yeah.
a lot of couples, they were both working because they had high expenses. They said, let's cut our expenses and only one of us has to work.
Hmm.
They're really looking at things and making big changes.
Big changes. Yeah. And they probably had some time to really think about it, because you can't just decide, oh, yeah, this is my purpose. This is where I'm going to go. It takes a lot of time to
Yeah.
think about where you're going and why you're doing the things you're doing.
Well, we had a
And
year in our pajamas to think about it.
yeah, exactly. If we're comfortable in thinking about it, that makes it even that much better. Right.
Right. So you said there's 5 steps to moving closer to your summit. What are the 5 steps?
Yeah, yeah, I talk about the 15 steps, but the 5 that I sort of pull out of those 15 is one is first of all identifying where you want to go. What is your summit? What is your aspiration? What is the desire or desires that you want to achieve? And then asking yourself the question, okay, so why is this so important to me?
Mhm.
Why am I doing this? Why do I want to go in this direction? Why do I want to climb that mountain? Why do I want to move and across the country? Whatever that decision is or that desire is.
Mhm.
And then after that, planning and preparation is really critical. You have to be able to, and planning could be, okay, let's come up with a date. Let's figure out, okay, so if I want to start a new business, how many years is it going to take? When will I decide I'm going to move toward that? It's
Right.
going to be 6 months, or am I going to hang in there for 2 years, or whatever it is. So it's coming up with some dates, because dates really prompt us to move toward them.
Mhm.
And then the other one is, asking for help. There's a zillion experts that are around us.
Right.
And LinkedIn is a great place to find a bunch of experts. So why not post something or ask someone out there for some help that you don't know about something, or you need some help in some sort of technology, which would be me a lot of the time.
And that's
And
where relationships come into play,
yeah,
right?
exactly. and then choose your thoughts. Choose the right thoughts. You can choose your attitude and your thoughts, and your thoughts and your attitudes go miles in reaching your summit, miles.
Yeah.
And the reason why I've called it choose your thoughts is because you're in charge of them.
Right.
You can't just say, well, I'm just going to do this. No, you choose. You choose to have the right thoughts and
Hmm.
beliefs, who you are and where you're going and what you can achieve. And then lastly is keep the momentum going. Keep one foot in front of the other. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, then distractions come into play and you slow down and then you lose sight of where you're going and you sort of lost that chutzpah to
Hmm.
keep moving. And so those are the five that I pulled out of the 15 that I think are really critical.
Hmm. That makes sense. If you're
Yeah.
climbing that mountain, I've done hard hikes before, or I do Peloton rides. Today I did the hardest ride. The instructor said, "This is gonna be the hardest ride you've ever done in your life." And she was like yelling at us, like, "You go, keep going." It was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But we kept going and going and going.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I think about that in climbing, just I'm amazed, like, oh my gosh, long to the eye, short to the feet, or short to the no, short to the eye and long to the feet. Like, there's the peak.
Hmm.
How many steps is it going to take you to get there? And you put one foot in front of the other, and before you know it, there's no speed, there's no race, there's no competition. You just keep it going, and before you know it, you're there. And it's
Right.
really exciting, knowing that, wow, I just kept one foot in front of the other at a pretty consistent, slower pace, and there I am.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's one of those cases, maybe the journey isn't so pleasant, but the destination is.
exactly. Right. Yeah. Hurry up! I just want to be there. Hmm.
Right. Get that picture and put it on social media and head back down.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I think that's it's pretty I wouldn't say self-explanatory because it's not for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when you start it becomes natural for recognizing that you just keep going. You put your s- limiting beliefs at bay and
Mhm.
make sure that they're not in your pathway and keep it going. If it's a new business that you want to start, or you want to write a book, or all the businesses that are out there have more speaking engagements. This is really, I think, really powerful for people to use
Yeah.
moving toward that.
So what's on your agenda for this year?
Um, well, I'm planning to climb the Matterhorn, which is in Switzerland. I had
Mhm.
planned to climb it last year, um, but because of COVID and the restrictions in Switzerland, I had to put that aside and just hope that I can do it this year. And I'm not getting any younger, so
None
I
of
want
us are.
well, I want to do that for sure in August. It's a pretty short window of climbing the Matterhorn in Switzerland.
Mhm.
Um, and I'd like to have more speaking engagements. I'm ready to um, take my book on the road and my books on the road, and I love to travel anyway. And meeting people is fun and enjoyable and enlightening, and I'm always inspired by people anyway. So,
Right.
so those are my big ones. How about you? What are your goals or aspirations for the
Oh, we're
year?
just enjoying our new grandson who's about 7 months old now,
I've seen pictures.
and more travel, trying to wind up that travel again.
Yep.
My wife retired last year, so she's just kinda goofing off, enjoying
Yeah.
life.
Okay.
So,
You have
yeah,
flexibility to be able to do that too.
yeah, I can take my laptop anywhere.
Yep. Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
supposed to have a speaking engagement in Poland in May if things open up,
Wow. That's awesome.
so that'd be good to
About
spend some
LinkedIn?
time. Yep, of course, what
Okay.
else?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're the guru of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Where in Poland?
It's in Gdansk,
Oh,
Poland,
okay.
and
I've
we'll
not
probably just spend a few weeks there.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I've got good friends who are from Poland.
Yeah. So
So
it should be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, international travel, yeah. And I have not done any international travel since COVID, so I think it'll be. Have you?
No, we've got postponed 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah, yeah. So this engagement for you has been postponed?
It's been 3 times it's been postponed.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
really
he's still gonna do it eventually, so we'll get
yeah,
there.
good. Good, good,
So where
good.
can people get your books?
Where can in both books, on Amazon, Goodreads, Kobo,
Your
yeah,
website?
Barnes and Noble, my website, renekoesler.com. Yeah, both my books are on my website, and both can be found on Amazon. And there's e-versions, electronic versions, and also hard copies. And if you want a signed autographed copy, then you can order it through my website, and I will package it, sign it, and send it off to you. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
That's how I got mine.
yeah, exactly.
Well, great.
Good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, this
Been
has
good
been
catching
fun.
up with you.
Yeah. Hi, LinkedIn, everybody. And, good luck to you. Happy New Year. And may you have, I think just a good time in
Yeah,
this year. And we deserve it. And just keep plugging along and you'll get there.
exactly. Just enjoy every step.
Exactly. Thanks,
Great.
Ted.
Thank you.
Okay.